Welcome back to America's Commercial Real Estate Show. I am Michael Bull. This segment is brought to you by thenewsfunnel.com. Check them out. If you're in any type of commercial real estate industry business around the country, check them out. This great news source. Well, today we are talking about the office market, the office sector. And you can't think about office users or businesses or buildings without thinking about connectivity, right? Everything's online, everything's in the cloud today, so it becomes very important for office users and investors and everyone about the connectivity. Well, you have a treat for you today. My guest is Jeske. He is with WiredScore.com, and they are the organization behind Wired Certification. JD, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Well, so what is Wired Certification?
Yeah, so WiredScore is the first and only globally recognized standard for rating a commercial office building's connectivity. What that means big picture wise is we help owners understand their digital infrastructure. We work with them on ways to improve it, and then we broadcast that to the marketplace. So a building could be Wired certified at a certified silver, gold, or platinum level. And then that helps tenants, brokers, and people in the market understand what are some of the best-in-class buildings based on their Wired certification.
Okay. And does the landlord pay for this certification?
They do, yep.
Okay.
So owners, landlords are our client, and then we touch kind of all facets of the industry. So we work with building engineers, property managers, brokers on both sides, landlord and tenant rep brokers, helping them look smart to their clients. We work with tenants looking for space and help them easily identify something that you can't really see or touch or feel, but you need to know that the connectivity is there when you're signing a lease for 10 years in a building, that the building can support your needs for today and also as your building grows. I think we could agree that whatever happens in the market, we as a society and our business are only becoming more and more connected and maximizing our uptime and reducing any chances that could be downtime is critical for business of today.
Yeah. So if I'm a tenant and I'm running a business and I'm looking at the difference between what was the top and a platinum and the lower score was
certified. Yep.
So what could the difference mean for me as an office user?
Yeah, so it could be strictly options. Who is in that building? Is there fiber in the building, and what options do you have? Is it AT&T and Comcast? Is it level 3? Is it Cogent? There are a variety of options in there, and finding that information quickly and efficiently is basically how WiredScore was born. We were founded out of a public-private partnership with tenants asking these questions in New York City. And our founder got involved with Mayor Bloomberg, actually, in the Economic Development Department of New York City, and basically created this standard because tenants need to know what's in a building before they get to lease signing day and are jumping into the building. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. So I understand that in my space here, my building at Bull Realty in Atlanta, where we help tenants and landlords in the office market, that we have redundancy, that we have two different carriers. So is that available in most every building? Is that part of the score to be able to have multiple providers?
That's exactly right. Redundancy is probably one of the biggest things that we get questions about, and tenants want to know which buildings have that. They want to be able to shortlist instead of looking at 20 buildings down to 10 because of a redundancy measure. We're seeing that more and more tenants are signing up for a primary and a backup, and they want to know that it's coming in from two sides of the street, or maybe it's a fixed wireless solution where it's actually a point-to-point fiber-like connection coming off the rooftop. And again, this is all about efficiency, making something that's really complicated and complex easy to digest and easy to understand, and being able to point to a Wired certification that really provides the value. We get compared to a lot with a LEED certification or a walk score, and why I think those are valuable. LEED makes us feel good, right? We like to know that we're an efficient building. A walk score is great. We want to know how long it's going to take us to get to public transportation or get to lunch. But WiredScore is the only one that can be directly linked back to the productivity in an office space. Offices simply cannot function if they're not connected. And maximizing that and providing some validity to that choice is really something that we're seeing tenants in the market and brokers who are assisting in their search. That's where the value comes in. Digging up that information quickly and being able to point to it and answer those questions is really speeding up the leasing process.
Okay, and is this for new buildings and older buildings?
It is. So we have two certifications. We have the occupied, which is existing, like you'd see today, multi-tenanted buildings. And then we also get involved with new developments and redevelopments, which means that that's kind of the exciting thing is owners and developers are planning for this and they're looking at a certification and they see the value in technology and connectivity. And they want to know that they're playing in concrete. They're building these buildings that are going to last and that they've done a great job designing them from the true bones and the infrastructure that it's going to satisfy a tenant's needs.
So how, if I run a business in New York or wherever, and how can I find out what the WiredScore of a building is if it's just not readily available in the marketing of the building?
Sure. So we like to push it through the marketing. So the leasing agents are using this in their material. It lives on CoStar, it lives on WiredScore.com. We also get a lot of tenants reaching out to us and brokers that just want to better understand this. I think they've read about us, they've heard about this, or they just see the value in technology. So if they're not asking for a WiredScore, they're certainly asking these questions of what's in the building, how long is it going to take me to get plugged in and get connected, and how safe is that connection.
Okay, and if I manage a building, I own a building, how might I improve my WiredScore?
Yeah, it all depends what you start with, right?
Yeah.
So we've certified 400 million square feet, more than 1,500 buildings. We're in 7 countries globally. And we've launched market by market everywhere. So when you've looked under the hood of that many buildings, you kind of tend to spot out some things that they're doing really well quickly, and also some deficiencies. Part of that could just be how well maintained the buildings have been over the years as tenants have moved in and out. What do the risers look like? How clean are they? Are they at capacity? Could you bring in another provider? So some of that is just operational maintenance. Some of that is good housekeeping. Do you have agreements on file? Do you have a boilerplate agreement? Different things like that. So it depends where you start, but we stay on. Our certification is 2 years, so we don't just give you a score and walk away, but we work with you and really provide value over the 2 years of what I call phase 2, and that's the consulting side of what we do. We work with you behind the scenes to better improve and future-proof those buildings to make sure that you're not only attracting tenants, but you're retaining tenants in your building and that you're providing a really good product. The floor has kind of been raised for expectations from tenants. It's no longer something that, hey, we have fiber and that suffices. They want to know more, and they want to know that they can stay connected and continue to do business there.
Yeah, and every building owner wants great tenants who are successful too. And you think about, if you have great bandwidth, it's reliable and it's fast. It's just like wellness. If your tenants are well, if they're doing well, then you have a better stable building and for retention and collections and everything else. But this WiredScore does not include cellular service, right?
So on new developments, it will. We'll work with you on that. We want to know that you are designing a building that could hold a DAS in there, which is a digital antenna system. Which basically it's pulling in cell coverage from the outside of the building, and bringing it up through and distributing it through that building. The interesting correlation is buildings that are LEED certified have potentially a low E glass, which is blocking cell service. The other thing that we're following in the market is we're moving in the U.S. from 4G to 5G, which basically right now our cell phones are operating off a 4G signal, which is a big kind of rolling wave that travels pretty far. 5G is much more frequent, and the great thing about that is you're going to be able to connect more IoT devices to that. And you're also going to be on 4G, what would take you maybe 7 minutes to download a 2-hour movie from your cell, you're going to be able to do it in about 7 minutes. So much faster, but also can be blocked easier from the infrastructure point of view. So we work with our clients to address these issues. Technology is changing rapidly. When you start building a building maybe today and it's not going to be delivered for 18 months, what does it look like in 18 months from now? Yeah. So different things in the market. To answer your question, we do cover that, and that's something that's constant. What's interesting is 80% of cell phone traffic happens from within buildings, which is interesting because you're talking about a mobile phone, but people are calling it and using it from inside the workspace. People want this untethered feeling in their day-to-day. They're not just at a desk all day plugged in anymore. They're moving around from an iPad, working from our cell phones on the go. So it's definitely something we're tracking and probably something that we answer questions very frequently on.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's very important. Like on our phone system here, if somebody calls your phone extension in your office, it also rings your cell phone, whether you're here or anywhere else. So we all want to be connected. We obviously want to be available for our clients and be convenient. So your website is WiredScore.com, WIRED score.com. What resources are there for the audience that they can access?
Yeah, so we have a fact sheet for every building. So every building that's Wired certified is going to be on our website and CoStar as well. A simple, easy to understand fact sheet, which basically it's the health report, the report card on that building, everything you would need to know from a tenant experience.
Nice.
And that covers the simple things like, is there common area Wi-Fi, to the really technical things like the fiber and who's providing into the building, redundancy and resiliency measures. So that's a sheet that everybody who touches a leasing decision can use, from the asset manager to ultimately the tenant looking for space. And we play in this very niche space between the telecom world and engineering, where it's a really complex IT conversation and lingo, to something that you and I could sit down and understand. So we provide that translation, what's in between. So we're constantly involved in these conversations to make something that is critically important, able for everybody to understand and confidently point to that they've validated their decision and where they're going to land and open business.
Yeah. So those resources, that information is available on your website with just access for anyone, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, that's great. Anything else we should know about the tools at your website, or anything else you kind of parting news for our audience related to WiredScore and these certifications?
Yeah, I think we've grown as demand is there, market by market and internationally, and different markets have grasped this at a different level. But I think what's exciting is we're playing in this ecosystem that owners see the value here. Brokers are educating themselves on technology because their tenants, their clients, are asking questions about it. And we're providing that platform for people to speak to it. Owners are investing a lot of money in making smart buildings, making well-connected products, and never had kind of that platform to speak to it and to validate and point to. They thought they had something good, but they didn't know how to tell anybody about it.
Right.
Wired certification and a Wired score gives them that credibility, and it also gives them a global standard where if you have a platinum building in Boston or DC or Chicago, that also means the same in London, in Paris, and in Toronto, where we also have a presence. So I think it's really exciting to see the reception and the growth of how quickly we've come along.
Yeah, well, that's excellent and great information, JD. Thanks for being with us and sharing this really important topic with our audience.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for joining us out there around the country or around the world, however you are watching or listening. We appreciate you being with us. Please let us know your thoughts. Connect with us on social media. Check out our other shows at CREshow.com. Until next week, be sure that you always lead, learn, and laugh, and join us for America's Commercial Real Estate Show.